Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Venusian Essence podcast. I am your host, Venus, and oh my god, I am so excited for this podcast episode because I have someone so special with me here. My mentor, my guide, my soul sister, Cassandra DeSarro. She has been a huge part of my healing journey and my life journey, and someone who's offered me so much support, so much wisdom, so much knowledge that I had to bring her on with me here. And I feel so honored that I get to get you here in my little studio and have you share your light and wisdom with us. So I first connected with Cassandra through her tarot readings. If you know Cassandra, you know she does really awesome, cool readings on Instagram and on TikTok. And I got into her Tarot Intuition Mastery course, and I've learned so much about intuition and accessing higher realms and doing that in a safe way. And she is the real deal when it comes to that. I just gotta say that. But yeah, so I'm gonna give you the mic, Cassandra, to just introduce yourself a little bit for all of us.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you. I'm so honored to be here. You are just one of my favorite people that I've never met in person, but I feel like we have. I mean, I'm sure we've hugged in the astral a few times or done some work, together. But yeah, I'm so honored to be here. I have obviously had the Tarot Intuition Mastery course, and I like to host different classes and courses and do tarot and mentor and yeah, kind of a lot of different things. But I love to hang out on Instagram. I'm definitely there a lot, and I'm kind of in probably like you, a bit of a death and rebirth portal right now. We are recording this at an interesting time. Also recording this on a full moon. On the Taurus full moon, we're in Scorpio season. So it just feels like the energy is intense, but in a beautiful way where it's kind of like there's a lot of muck, maybe. There's a lot of dirt and mud, but there's gonna be a beautiful blossoming from whatever is happening. So if you're listening to this and you are going through it, whatever it is, just know that your soul is probably so excited right now because that's the chance for us to grow and expand and to step into this next iteration of life. So thank you for having me. I'm so blessed to be here.
Of course. Yeah, oh my God. I feel that in my body today, just in my somatic experience. I was sharing with you a little bit before we hopped on that throughout the day, I was feeling that sensation when you're about to jump into the water and you're just so afraid, oh my God, if I do this, I die. But you also know that it's not going to happen. But the fear just feels so real. Right? So this theme of identity shifting, and with the Scorpio season and like you said, the full moon, and whenever you're going to be listening to this is going to be a theme for you. So this is timeless, but we are recording this in November 5th. So we are in Scorpio season and we are ending this year 2025, which has been a 9-year, which is a completion number, right? And we are entering a year of number 1, 2026. So literally what my higher self has been bringing me as far as messages is that now is such a beautiful portal and window of time where we can enter the new year as a whole new version of ourselves. I know there's only 2 months left of this year, but it feels very significant. The choices that we make right now when just stepping outside of your comfort zone, we can start the new year as new year, new me, even though we say that every year, but it feels very significant this year because it's a number 1, which number 1 is all about new beginnings, right? So what would you give as advice for something to focus on really before the end of this year?
That's a great question. It's great that you're asking that because a lot of people are just not focused on what they want. They're focused on what they don't want. And that is such a shift in vibration. Just when we shift from focusing, and I'm getting the chills, on what we from what we really are running away from or don't want, or whether it's the financial debt and it's I don't want this debt. It's okay, then how about we focus on creating abundance, creating wealth, right? So I think shifting the focus is the first step for sure. from just checking yourself. Like, we all got to do it. It doesn't matter who you are. It's like sometimes, especially if we're surrounded by certain people that are living in lack or they're not really on the spiritual path and they're just kind of like, floating along, it's easy for that, for people like you and I, to like pick up and absorb that energy if we are not protecting our energy and if we're not really like just checking in with ourselves every day. So I would say first, just make sure you're focusing on what you're creating rather than what you're reacting to. And then next, like get clear on what you're creating as well. Like make it bigger, make it bolder. I feel like we don't give ourselves enough credit for what we're capable of creating, myself included, like playing small and that kind of stuff. Again, it gets so easy to like get caught in this habit of like, well, I only made $1,000 last month, so I'm just gonna go for like 1,500 next month. It's like, why? No, why are we playing small? Let's really challenge ourselves and actually set really, I think it's helpful to set massive goals. And I'm not saying $1,000 to $1,000,000, and of course money is just an example, but it's something that feels like it's kind of on the edge for us. Like it's kind of like, ooh, I don't even know. Like this is where the identity shift comes in, right? The best way to see what we're identifying as is to look at what we have and to look at our life, because it's a reflection of who we believe ourselves to be. So a really great focus to move through these next couple of months is actually asking ourselves, asking our higher self, like, what have I been identifying as? And let it be revealed, because a lot of this stuff is under the surface. It's not just like, well, I'm a teacher and I'm this and that. That's very much like front of the mind, but there's so much that controls our life, which is subconscious, our energy field, that can only be revealed when we allow it to come through and we ask these bigger questions of, okay, who have I been identifying as that is not in alignment with this wealth or with this relationship that I'm really like, I know is meant for me and I know I want to attract. Anyways, I'll leave it at that for now and let you kind of go where you want with that, because I can talk about this stuff forever.
Me too. I love that. I have Venus in Scorpio. I love speaking about identity shifting. I don't know if I've ever shared this story before in full, but let me share this story because some of you know, if you don't know, Venus is an identity that I created. Okay. So for me, this happened 2 years ago, in 2023, end of summer. If you were to see that version of me right now, like you would not recognize her. Like you wouldn't be able to tell that that's me, whether that be physically or mentally or as far as what I'm doing in my life. Like it was a complete shift. And I remember I was working with my coach at the time, my mentor, Samantha, shout out. She's played a big role in my journey as well. And she was teaching me about my Venus placement in astrology. And I have Venus in Scorpio. I have Venus in Scorpio in the 6th house.
Sorry, Venus just is going into Scorpio tomorrow.
It's like my Venus return.
So, hello. Okay, go on.
Oh my God, yes, such a big theme. And this is a tip, by the way. So my coach she's a great astrologer. She was teaching me that it's so helpful to look at your Venus sign if you want to build an authentic brand of your business, especially if you want to lead from like your feminine. So because your Venus sign is like your femininity, your beauty, your magnetism. So when you build your brand from your Venus sign, like, that it's going to be in alignment. And if you can reflect on like my brand identity right now, you can see that, right? Yeah, she taught me a lot about like, so the Scorpio energy is like the death and rebirth and the transformation and the dark feminine energy and going into the depth and like subconscious reprogramming and all that stuff. And then like flashbacks started to come to me about like who I am and like how, oh my God, like I am so powerful. Like I am such a powerful woman. Like I started to realize, like reclaim that also this like sexual, like creative life force that I have. And I started to dive deep into like my shadows and all the places where I was identifying, like you said, with these versions of myself, of like what kind of sister I am, what kind of daughter I am, what I was a student. Like it can be like I'm a teacher. Like it's so easy to identify with our career or with like where we're from or how old we are. We are social beings. We want to like belong with people around us, right? So I'm a smoker. you know, I'm this, I'm that. And that creates like lots of like also like other categories that you're and boxes that you're gonna put yourself in. And coming back to my story, recentering, is that I decided to like shed all of those identities. And for me, it required me to cut off all the people from my life. I cut off all my friendships. I quit college. I stayed at home. The only thing I was doing was emotional healing work and like really getting to know myself. And so I would say that I created Venus from that space of like darkness when I really reconnected with myself. And then I just felt like I was a whole brand new version of myself, a whole new me, but also it was also coming back to who I am. So it is simultaneously like more like recreated myself, if that makes sense, like coming back to my true soul's essence, like who I am. And I just had like my higher self come to me with like, it was like I need to create a like a brand. I felt this creative energy that I wanted to have like a brand identity, and Venus came to me. And I think it probably was my Venus return at that time too. And I was like, wait, I'm also like a Libra sun, Libra moon, Taurus rising. So I'm actually ruled by Venus. And so there was there was a lot of synchronicities that I was like, oh my God, I really embody this like Venusian energy, like this divine feminine energy and everything. And so for people who knew me before then, like watching this version of myself, they were like, who is she? Like I could see the shock in people's faces. And I also was so surprised at like how crazy, like in such a rapid way, I shifted like my entire being, like, and went from being a college student to like a college dropout to like I have a spiritual business, and I actually like reconnected with my purpose. And like it all happened so quick. And I think I'm sharing this because maybe the message is also that like it doesn't have to take you years and years and years to change yourself when you understand the basics of it. Like you go to the roots of it, right? Like the deep, like shedding those like core identities that we identify with. And usually we find these in like the areas of like family and relationships. That's where it started for me, because I was going through my father's death, my grandmother's death, and then a huge breakup and leaving my friends. Because usually we tend to identify as well with the people around us. I'm that person's girlfriend. I'm that person's daughter.
You're talking about ego death too, because I feel like when we shed identities, that is ego death. Because our ego gets attached to identities. And so that's why it's so hard for a lot of us to make changes and to go through these rebirths and to like actually let it happen for ourselves, because our ego's hanging on for dear life as far as like, oh no, I need to be this in order to be loved. I need to have this identity in order to survive. I need to have this identity to be successful. Really, like you were saying, it's like this is also a snake year. So it's a lot of shedding. It's not necessarily like, who am I, like who am I becoming? It's like we are already it. It's who are we unbecoming? It's what we're unlearning, what patterns we're releasing. And that, what gets in the way of that is just the ego's attachment to comfort and to what we know and to the past. Basically, it's everything that has happened, and everything that's happened in our life is in the past, even if it was yesterday. So it's just interesting how when we're shedding things from the past, it's kind of like Ten of Wands. If you guys are tarot lovers at all, Ten of Wands is like carrying a lot of energy that's not yours. And I was just having a conversation with my friend about this too. It's kind of like right now the energy is very much Ten of Wands to Ace of Wands. It's like releasing all of that baggage, all of that weight, and that's ego death. That's just feeling not like yourself. That's feeling like you need a change. It's feeling drained. It's feeling tired. And it's not about like, what do I need to do? It's like, what do I need to like stop doing? Like, who do I need to stop being? And then boom, that's where the Ace of Wands, which is like our innate spark, our soul, and like our soul's mission, our soul's purpose, our soul pulse. And that can come alive naturally when everything else falls away. So what a journey you have been on as far as becoming Venus, because this is all I've known you as. I can't even imagine. And same with me, like even my like past life, so to speak, in this lifetime, I would not be recognizable at all. So it's just interesting how we both have gone through these different iterations of ourselves on our soul's journey, like in this human form, in this iteration of our soul's expression. So inspiring.
I actually was wanting to ask you that question. I
Okay.
really want to know. I really want to know, like, genuinely. I mean, I know you, but I don't know, like, I don't know this much about you. So, when was the moment in your, call it healing journey, your spiritual journey, that you really felt that spark of like, this is my purpose, or like, I gotta get onto this, like your soul really calls you into mission? Like, what sparked that for you? How
Mhm.
did that happen?
So throughout my life, I've always been known as someone who's like really positive and just like, oh my God, people would always be like, why are you so happy and you're so positive? And I've always had this like childlike excitement, positive energy, cheerleader type of like vibe. And it's like now looking back, I realize it was my higher self like coming through without me really realizing. It's kind of my innate personality, which over the time, of course, gets a little tainted and it's, you know. But, anyways, the seeds were kind of planted throughout my life. But the one thing that happened to help me realize that this is my mission and purpose was when I had my first dark night of the soul. When
Mm-hmm.
I realized I had never connected with darkness, my own darkness before, but it was very much like the surface level. You're so positive, you're so happy, like all this stuff, which it's true, but I never went deep into myself. I never got to know myself in a way where like I would ask myself about any of these questions that we're talking about. It was very much like living surface level, making decisions based on maybe what my family would think is like best, or very, even when I went to college, everything, it was based on everyone else, even subtly, all of my choices. And so eventually I had this dark night of the soul, which basically was a very deep, dark depression. And it brought me to my darkness, that I know it was very divine. Like I had to do that in order to understand myself. And because of how deep I went and how I basically crawled out of that dark hole, like looking for any kind of light, listening to podcasts, reading books about psychology, learning about the human condition, I just started like to have this craving about like, what's happening? Like, I don't know what's happening right now, but I need to learn about my brain. I need to learn about spirituality, psychology, and I just started to have this awakening from the dark night of the soul. And immediately, when I got out of that hole, so to speak, that deep darkness, I was like, who wants to be coached? I want to coach someone. I need to help someone right now because I'm so inspired because I just got through hell. So I need to help other people do this. So that's how it started.
Wow, I love that. Yeah, that is usually how it is for like light workers and healers. And so the journey is about healing yourself, right? And I mean, ultimately, we hear people say this a lot, and I think there's a lot of truth into it, which is that nobody is a healer. Like what we do is that we guide other people to healing themselves, right? Like you said, when you were in that hole, you found podcasts and like books and things that other healers and guides were writing that then just brought you back home to yourself. And then, like, the example that I like to use here is, you know, when you have gone to a place and you know the shortcuts, you know exactly how to get there, so you're walking. So if someone have never been there before, you're gonna walk them and show them how to go there in like 10 minutes. While if they were to go try and get there by themselves, they may get lost and like it takes them 2 hours to get there. So that's what working with like a coach does, right? It's like, for me, I don't know how long it would have taken me if I didn't invest with my coach. Like I worked with my coach like one on one, especially at the beginning of the journey. Like she really, oh my God, I have so much gratitude for my coach. Like she set up this like structure for me that like we're going to like work on this and then this, and like it just made things so much easier for me. Oh my God, I don't know how we got here, but like this is why it's so important that for anyone who feels the call to go out and do that, to like start doing that. Because also like I believe that my coach was exactly like that one person that was meant for, like, that I was meant to like learn from. And then with tarot, I remember that like I refused to learn tarot from anyone. I was so stubborn. I was like, I'm gonna learn on my own. But then, like, see, like your frequency just called to me. I was like, and this makes sense now. Now I understand why, because it's not just about tarot. It's also about you and what you've been through. And like the frequency, my candle was flickering right now as I say that. The frequency that you hold, because you were teaching tarot, but also the work that you did before, like you're talking about, like the darkness and like getting yourself out of that dark hole and all these themes of like pleasing your family members, and all these things are things that I've been through as well. So like being in your field was like an initiation for me as well, beyond just like the tarot, beyond just like the intuition work, you know? So yeah, so grateful for you too. Like, oh my God, I couldn't have gotten here without you, truly.
Oh, that's so sweet. And I just love you so much. Like, I'm so glad our paths crossed because we always joke about how we're living the same life, like in two different places. Like, it's so weird. It's like I'm going through something, Venus is going through the same thing, but like in a slightly different way. Always. Literally, like, you can just count on that to happen. And it's so interesting and cool. And I think another reason we were brought into each other's lives is because there's so many spiritual leaders and teachers and gurus, but also just like people out there that aren't like living in integrity. And I'm not saying, I'm not trying to put anyone down or anything like that, but I just think that the way that our heart is in it and we want to live in integrity so much and like we practice what we teach, it's actually kind of a little bit more rare to come across like gems like you that really live in integrity like that and want to teach from a place of like truth rather than this is what I think everyone should do, that kind of thing. So anyways, just wanted to say that like I think that our souls are like on that same wavelength, so to speak.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And I think that that ties well to what we were talking about before, because in order to be in this frequency, in order to be legitimate, is what I'm hearing. Truth be told, like you have to walk the path, like be the embodiment of what you're teaching. So it's just a fact that there's a lot of fluff out there now, especially with AI. It's become very easy, and not just with AI, just people having this like, I feel like there are people literally who are like observing what others are doing and then copying, right? And they even go viral with their content. They do make money. They do have like the success, right? But it's a frequency that is felt. Like once you start living in that frequency of you want the truth, like really want to know who you really are, like you're seeking that depth and alignment and authenticity, you can feel it in someone's field when you're tuning in. You can feel that something is just off. And I've learned that. So the discernment, I've learned that by being in the fields of people who are not like that, and how my initial gut feeling, like literally I have such a strong like gut intuition, and I didn't trust that. I was like, maybe it's just, maybe I'm just afraid of connection, maybe, but then I go through the experience, I get a slap in the face, slaps all over my face. Then I'm like, I should have listened to that initial gut feeling, because when you know you're rooted in truth, when you know you're aligned with the truth of who you are, when you know you're coming from an intention, whether you are a healer, a guide, or you are someone who is seeking the mentor, I feel like the audience will be a little bit of a mix of both here. It's like if your intention is aligned with like, I want to connect with God. I want to connect with the truth. I want realness. Like you will find yourself in places like these, just saying, like where there's like real people. And this is how you know someone is real, is that they've walked that path. And then, like you said, the moment that your purpose speaks to your like, I want to coach someone, is when you have just like gotten initiated, aka you've gone through the darkness yourself and you've pulled yourself out of it, rather than like purpose is not something that's going to call to you because you see someone doing something and you're like, oh, that's interesting, that gets a lot of money, let me just do that and like make it your purpose. It's about the alchemy of your story, the alchemy of your life story. Like, we all come with our set of challenges and the patterns that we come into, and all the things that we live in our life as are purposeful because there's a set of lessons in them that we are then going to be teaching others. So I feel like if you're someone who is looking for a teacher, for a guide, you would know that they're the right fit for you if, like we're talking, like they have gone through the things that you're going, like make sure that like they've been through it. You know, like I'm not going to be teaching you how to, I don't know, I'm not going to be a soul purpose coach if I'm not connected with my soul purpose. I'm not going to be like a business coach if I don't have results in my business, right? So yeah, this conversation just took an interesting turn on.
I knew it would, because, you know, our like I feel like our energy inspires each other for just different things that want to be channeled through us. Yeah, and I love it though. I love where it's going.
I wanted to know, and I think we've already kind of touched on that a little bit, but if you could dive a little deeper into what would be your biggest takeaway, like the biggest lesson that you have learned throughout your journey since you started answering your purpose and like coaching people?
That's a huge question. Gosh, there's so much. Well, I think we have covered a lot, like discernment and things like that. Not just, I think there's just to like touch on the spiritual fluff thing. And if you're spiritually awakened, that doesn't mean you're necessarily grounded in truth, because there's a lot of like floaty type of spiritual excitement, but like it's really important to ground. So that's so important, is to ground your energy when you're on the spiritual path. We don't want to escape. It's not about escaping the matrix. It's about infusing our magic into the matrix. Like, our souls chose to come here for a reason. But the biggest thing that I would say I've learned, and I might think of other things like after the podcast, but let's see what wants to come through here. I think that life is a mirror. Life is a mirror. It will always mirror back to you what you believe to be true about yourself. Always. Literally, we can call it the law of reflections, I like to call it, or the law of inside out. Like, your insides are going to be reflected on the outside from an injury, from something that happens to someone outside on the street that you witness. Like, everything we witness, everything that we experience, if we're having a fight with someone, if we're being triggered by someone, it's a reflection for us to see ourselves more clearly. And this has been such a pivotal understanding for me that it's always deepening and expanding. You know that I love to talk about this as like the law of reflections. And I think this is something that if everyone knew in this world, like everyone, it would be such a different world, because it wouldn't be blaming other people. It would be like, oh, why am I an energetic match to this? Or what in my energy field is creating this? Because I also call it the creator field, or we can call it, in scientific terms, the electromagnetic field. So when we take responsibility for our energy field, there's literally no room for being like, it's your fault, you're being like this, you're being like that. It's more of like a curiosity of like, oh, interesting. There must be something happening in my energy field that I can shift in order for, I don't know, this trigger to dissipate, or for me to feel more self-love so this trigger doesn't constantly come up in relationship or whatever it is. So I think that's probably like the biggest thing that I am obsessed with, and that it has changed my life and my journey in such a beautiful way, where I no longer am feeling like a victim to life, but a creator. I know that I have the ability to create, to uncreate, to recreate. The little bit of a slippery slope is the, wait, it's my fault. Like, that's where kind of like my work has been lately, of like not being like, I'm creating this, so I need to like kind of be hard on myself about that, because that's another iteration of like lack and limitation that can kind of like spiral if you really focus on like, it's my fault. It's not necessarily your fault. It's something more to learn, to get curious about, and to have fun with. So I just wanted to say that too, because that's something I've been working through as well, of like not taking it so seriously, like this law, because it is true that life is a reflection. Yes, we don't want to blame other people, but we also don't want to blame ourselves. And so that's kind of like where I'm at right now, of releasing that tension that I'm creating in myself because of how much responsibility I'm taking in my life. So it's been a journey.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that is one of the things that you teach that was really inspiring to me, the law of reflections. And I was gonna say that it's so empowering when you understand that. Because ever since I realized that, it's like I can no longer blame someone else. And in that, like, you realize that no one outside of me could ever dictate what happens in my life. Like, how cool is that, right? But then again, what you touched on as like blaming ourselves is also an interesting thing that happens when we're on our healing journey, and trying to fix ourselves and being like, okay, so if this happened, that means almost feels like, okay, I'm going so deep, but it feels like the father wound, because you then start to feel like God or the universe is like punishing you, and you're like, what do I need to do to fix this? Since I'm not getting results, then like I'm doing something wrong and I need to fix it. But what I was getting in my head when you were talking is that it's more like an energetic play. It's kind of the phrase, more like, so these are the energetics that are at play, not like you're doing something wrong or there is something wrong outside of you. There's just certain, like, how do we shift them? So I'm getting like the magician, like you understand the dynamic that's going on there by reflecting, and you shift that, and then you shift your reality. And like you said, we can bring so much fun and play into it. And a good example of that would be like me recording this podcast right here. So I started my podcast back in like March. And when I started it, I was definitely not in the play energy of it. I was so hard on myself. I was like, I have to start a podcast because there are a million people having podcasts and you're so behind. Like, what are you doing? Like, start a podcast. And then I wasn't very consistent with it. It was like back and forth. And now I can't believe that I'm at a point where I'm like inviting other people to co-create with me, and I am finally in a playful energy. I like am inviting people in and not even having a theme, like literally just letting it be like enjoying my gift of being like an energy reader, an intuitive, so just letting like the theme come to me. And now I'm just like having such a fun conversation with like a friend, but simultaneously what I was gonna say is that there is a part of me that's like hella scared about this, because I'm not used to doing something like this, and I didn't have like so much success on my podcast so far as much as I was envisioning. But I am like giving comfort to that voice and that part of me that is scared, by being like, we're just having a playful conversation with a friend. I'm interviewing my mentor. How cool is that? So just like an example, I guess, of how to shift the energies that are playing out for you from like rigid, controlling, need to control the outcome, to like, let me just have fun with it.
I love that so much. I love that so much. And it's funny because my cat started playing when you were talking about that. It's like clockwork. It's literally perfect. And someone I've been listening to so much lately, speaking of like real ones, is Joe Hudson. I love him, the way he coaches. I just love watching his YouTubes. He's got so much content, and he talks about everything in the frame of experimenting. He's like, just experiment. Experiment. If you have a business, for the first 2 years, it should be like a fun experiment. Expect to fail, but like, don't take it seriously, because it should be like you're a kid just playing Legos, and like there's no pressure because you're just playing. So if something goes wrong, it's actually you just learning and having fun. So yeah, definitely some of the medicine that I know that I'm being called to take more of is just play with it. And I want to do that. That's kind of my goal moving forward with content, especially through like heavier Scorpio season and heavier energies that are moving through the collective. I just want to play and have content that inspires people to play, or to be more lighthearted, or to not take themselves so seriously, or to not feel like everything has to be so curated in order for this result to happen, because that's the ego. The ego has an attachment to an outcome. And so if we really want to play in a soulful way, then who the heck cares what happens? This is just for play. Like our souls are here to play.
And like the energy that I'm feeling right now is like I so needed to hear that right now because that was a reminder for me of like not judging just how this is playing out and like having fun with it. And when you mentioned play, I actually thought of like my cards because if you don't know that about me, I started by reading tarot on social media. That's how I started. Well, I had a TikTok before that actually in like 2021, 2022 when I was doing makeup. Speaking of play, like it was so fun. I was doing makeup and like outfits and stuff. Yeah. And tarot at the beginning was something that was like playful, but then when I started to like really call it a business and I have to get results, even that like I lost the play side of it and like just looking at the magical cards and doing a fun little reading. But it just reminded me of like tarot, and I was like, maybe it would be a nice way to end this episode to do a little reading.
Yes, I knew you were gonna say that. I knew one of us was gonna be like, should we pull some cards here? Have some fun?
Yeah, we're gonna have fun because pulling cards with you is always so fun. Like it's a magical experience.
It really is. Yeah, because we're in each other's brains and energy, so.
Okay. So the intention is to like pull some guidance for anyone watching here whenever they're watching. I'm just gonna tune in and see what comes out. I'm using the Lightseers Tarot deck. Are you
Same.
using the Lightseers? Okay. I actually got to discover this deck through you, and the magic is real. Because what do I get?
The Page of Cups. I mean, look at a pig is flying, so.
And like we're literally just talking about play, and the Page of Cups is literally about that. The pages are like children. The pages are like explore your inner child and dreaming and like fantasy land and like vivid imagination.
And like innocence, you know?
Innocent.
Like viewing ourselves as like we are all children of God, right? And so it's like just because we've had a few more years since we've been 5 doesn't mean we're no more childhood, no more play, no more, you know? It's like let's lighten up a little bit. I love that. And what's really interesting that I have, oh, okay, that I have just pulled is the Queen of Swords. I pulled this almost the same time you pulled the Page of Cups, which is slightly opposite. I wouldn't say opposite, but it's more intellectual. It's more like something mental, creating boundaries, right? It's like, and when this came out, when you pulled the Page of Cups, it was like having that balance of both, having the balance of like, okay, I am an adult, like I do have things to, you know, to do and to be mature about and to like set boundaries and respect myself, but also like we can not take it all so seriously.
And you know what I'm noticing is that they both have like a sea behind them, and there's all the blue. Yeah, like they're kind of both sitting by the sea if you look at these cards, but they have different energies. And what's also interesting is that in Queen of Swords, her cup is like behind the bars underneath her, right? So it's interesting that I got the Page of Cups and you got the Queen of Swords. And I don't know, it feels like she's guarding that cup. So it's like having it feels like your inner child being a part of you that like you protect and cherish within, and it also feels like mommy child energy where like you are the adult and you parent yourself. So if we go with the like mother child energy, it's like she's the mom who would like tell her kid the full truth and like be authentic in the way that she raises her kid, as like is if her kid is like doing something that's whenever she needs to like pull out her motherly like responsible energy she would. So I feel like this is about like knowing when to be in this like playful energy and like innocent energy, and also simultaneously having this like responsible, also like I'm also getting like a vision for the future because she's looking ahead, like bringing this sense of like the inner child with you, like being young and playful, and also having an eye on like where you're going, and like so not losing sight.
Which is
Okay,
perfect for the next card.
yeah, I'm gonna let you.
Yeah, no, that was perfect. I was like, you're talking about the vision, which is literally the King of Wands, literally going so perfectly together. The King of Wands is very much the visionary. It's also entrepreneur. entrepreneur card. So if you're an entrepreneur, or if you're someone who like feels like they need to like be super regimented or strategic, the Page of Cups coming out is letting us know that it's really important to play. And another thing that you were saying when you said mother child energy, I also was kind of picturing a mother that was really hard on their kid and being like, stop playing. So it's kind of like reparenting ourselves, as far as like letting ourselves be maybe who we were not able to be, or who we thought we were not able to be as children, and reorienting our future based on reorienting our past, basically, because all we have is right now, and the way that we have relationship with our past will impact our relationship with the future. So if you feel like your future is really like cloudy or wonky, or like it just feels heavy, then we're definitely being called to bring in that Page of Cups, the childlike wonder, the reparenting of self, and being like, wait, no, I can play here. This can be fun. It doesn't have to be so heavy. It doesn't have to be like perfectionism. That's another thing that's coming through, is like the perfectionism has got to go for moving forward in a very powerful way if we want to make an impact, because the most powerful leaders never claim to be perfect. They are just like all of us, and they are just inspired to lead the way in whatever unique way that is calling them forward. And then the last card I got was the Lovers. So that's interesting. But if you have anything else to say too.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you have like a masculine figure there and a feminine, and then the lovers, which is a
Yeah.
union of both. So the lovers is choice, but I'm also getting balance. And we're talking about that, of like knowing when to like put your big what's the big girl shoes on,
Girl. Yeah.
and when to play. Because I also have another page here, which is the Page of Wands. So interesting how I'm getting these, like, I feel like even this is a reflection of like the whole reading. We're like getting complementary cards. Because you have the King of Wands, I have the Page of Wands. So the Page of Wands is when the King of Wands was the beginner. It's interesting. I was speaking about how when I started reading tarot, it was fun. But then at some point when I made it about business, it was like, it becomes rigid, and like, I don't want to do that. So knowing when to get back to this energy of like, how did it feel like when you first started, or how did it feel like when you were a kid, if we're just talking about life in general? Like, how can you bring that fun, your personality with you of your childhood to, and it's almost like what I'm getting is this improvement of self. So like bringing that with you, but having like a 2.0 version of it, where like you have those skills are developed, but you don't lose the essence of it, you know? Because our soul essence really is our inner child. Like when we remember when we were kids, that's when we didn't have any worries, mostly. When we didn't have any worries and we were just playful, and like that's when you feel the most you, right? Before the conditioning and the programming. So it's so interesting. I feel like this is just a reminder with the star here too. We love the star. So I'm remembering, like, interesting. I'm also going to be bringing that up since it came up. So I've been creating the Soul Essence portal, where I was called to record these like meditations to help people reconnect with their soul essence. The funny thing, so the reason why the star reminded me of it is because the energy was very much cosmic. Like I'm just channeling like galactic family and like this source energy, because children are very connected to that. Okay, when we're kids, we're very connected to that. And I have an inner child healing meditation inside. Anyway, it's so fun. The thing is that when I first got the idea, it was so fun. But then I wanted to make it perfect. Like you're saying, the perfectionism. So I kept procrastinating. But then this one day, I just allowed myself to have fun with it. And I recorded everything in one day. And it really sparked me up. I was in like this Page of Wands energy. And I went through the experience myself. If I was going to create this for me, just for me, like, let's just have fun. Let me just discover what I'm made of. Let me just discover my gifts, which is interesting because that's what the Soul Essence portal is about. I wanted to help people uncover their gifts, like their soul essence. And when I went through the journey by recording it, by the end, I just started to feel like my inner child come out again. And I felt called to do like these things that I used to do when I was a kid. So I feel like the medicine here is about bringing the play into what you're creating, whether that be a business or like whatever vision that you have. Like making sure to keep that fun alive, because without that it's just so boring. Like we just don't want to do that.
Yeah, like literally, what's the point? If we're forcing ourselves to do something that feels heavy, I'm with you with the tarot thing and everything. If it becomes, oh, it's 444 here, by the way. I just glanced
Wow.
down. I was like, whoa, that's such a sign right there. And that's energetic alignment. That's angelic guidance. Like our angels are not wanting us to be so serious, and I think that's why we got such balanced cards, is to show like it is important to have a vision, it is important to be strategic, it is important to like learn and to use our adult minds to create some things, but like sometimes that just gets in the way. And if we're not excited and we're not leading through our excitement, then we're going to be reflected, speaking of the law of reflections, back how we are taking ourselves too seriously, or we are being too hard on ourselves rather than just experimenting and playing. And the Lovers is also about making a choice from love. Ultimately, when we move forward in love, our inner child is alive, not like repressed down, being like, no, shut up and sit, like, be quiet, don't speak. It's like, no, let the inner child express. That is us moving through love. That's us creating through love. And that is magnetic. That is something that people just want more of, because they're like, wait, they have something that's inspiring my inner child to come alive, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, or whatever, even just in your everyday life. Like, so yeah, this is inspiring for me to even talk about and to have this conversation with you today.
Yeah, me too. It was so cool. Now I keep looking and 444, but I also am seeing the fives and the fours. And we don't even have to attach any meanings to it as well. The Page of Cups can be about like getting signs and synchronicities. So I feel like it's just about also when we are in that frequency of play, that's when you start seeing the angel numbers, and that's when you start seeing the synchronicities, because now you're attuned to that sense of like wonder for life. Like, oh my God, I just saw a rainbow. That means there's a positive new beginning. And we can't notice that if we're not in that space. Right. So,
Yeah, like we can't experience magic if we don't believe in it. And if we're like totally
yeah.
disconnected from our own magic or life's magic, then we're not going to see it. Period. It's going to feel so heavy and really dark.
Yeah. Wow, this was such a medicine, even just for me. And yeah, I feel like we're coming into a close for this. We are, oh my God, 55 minutes. So since I spoke about the Soul Essence portal, I just want to tell you guys that it's open for enrollment now, and I have 10 spots open for an early bird pricing of $55 only. And you get these forever. You get unlimited access to these meditations that are just, I was in awe. Nelly, I was in awe when I experienced it myself, because I'm an open channel, and I'm in love with this gift that I have to just like be open to like receiving, and I just bring in this cosmic energy into the earth, being very much on a starseed mission myself. So anyway, link is going to be in the description below for this one. And I also want to ask Cassie, like, what you have going on right now, if you have any invitation right now to share with us.
Yeah, there's so many things that are in the works. And the biggest thing, like definitely stay up to date on my Instagram. That's where you can always catch my like updates and being on my email list, which you can find in my link in bio. But I do have a membership right now called Creator Codes Collective. And this is like a monthly moon circle. It is classes that are included. It's soul family connections and so much more that's in this like one space that is growing. And so I'm really excited about that. I have different classes and offerings that are coming as well. And my website is another place. So just CasiDeSarro.com. I'm sure maybe you'll link that below, where there's other offerings and things like that. I have readings, personal readings, soul alignment sessions. So there's a lot going on. Whatever your heart is feeling called to, I got you. And also Venus is someone you definitely want to learn from. When you said $55, right as the timer was 5555, I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. So talk about the divine synchronicities.
Wow, I love that. Yeah, like honestly, $55 is like such a little investment for what you would be getting inside. My intention was so powerful for this that like even I got to experience what I said I would give other people, which is like I uncovered my gift to recording this. And which really aligns with the theme that we're just talking about like play and fun, and that's how you get to uncover who you really are. It's such a fun journey. And yeah, so I will put everything in the description below, Cassie's website and everything, to stay connected with both of us. And I'm just sending so much love to everyone who's watched so far. Thank you so much for tuning in here. And also thank you, Cassie. Oh my God, it was so fun having this conversation with you today.
It was so fun. Thank you so much for having me on, and I'm sure I'll be back again in the future. There's so much we can talk about.
Oh my God, yes. Thank you, everyone. And I hope to see you back here again on our next episode.